So welcome back guys, we have just gone through the Solution Explorer, a bit of debugging, and a bit of overview of the resources. So what's next? Can we hold some data or multiple data, or what are the data types? How we can play with it?
Well, everything you hold has a container. For example, even if you're holding an apple, your has a container. You're holding chips, that's in a container, that's in a packet.
A packet.
Yeah, exactly. So we have some variables. We call as variables the placeholder upset. That might be a string, that might be a number may be a simple number without a
Or a
fraction.
floating point
Simple
number.
number means integer, it might be a floating point, it might be a double, or it might be anything. So we have we call it variables. So unlike the other programming languages where you have to write the type of variables before, for example, if I just give you example, so what have you used? Can you tell me? It's a
It's a
pound
pound
sign.
sign.
Yeah, and pound signs denote basically I would say a comment. A comment means any of the word information or text you type here won't be executed. Exactly. So for example, I say in uh, Java we just say string s and we use a semicolon.
So first the
And,
data type and then the variable name, and
Exactly.
afterwards you can initialize it with
Exactly.
some value.
Exactly. For example, in C# I would say string s. There we go. And I have to just type here the semicolon. But in Python, unlike other language, I would say.
So we don't have to write a data type.
Exactly. What actually happened is, for example, if I say number is equal to, I would say
1 3
6, 1 2 3,
Okay.
whatsoever that is. So what actually happened is that it automatically just gets it gets a container for that, and that's an integer. If I type 6.6, it would get a container that is floating point along for it. Okay, so a floating point or a double. Sorry. So what actually happened here is that it automatically maps that.
So it decide on the runtime what value is and what type of variable I have to allocate for
Exactly.
that.
So for example, I won't give an example for a variable right now, but I would just give another example. For example, hello, this is our third tutorial. I will select it all, Control K and C. Voila!
Yes, that's great.
Yeah, so whenever you're typing something and you need to add that as a comment, you don't want that to be executed, just press Control K and C. And
it will comment out.
Yeah, comment out. So if you want to remove, you can remove it manually or just use the shortcut key for that as well. So right now, as I told you, to play with variables, to play with Python, you should use Python Interactivity, that is Python shell, I would say. So right now, let's try something with Python, and why not just try with strings?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So this is, I would say, string 1 is equal to sod. There you go. String 2 is equal to Mahmoud. There you go. So these are two strings that I've saved. So whatever I'm using, whenever I'm using container or whenever using a variable, it has been saved to the local memory of the computer. So for example, if I just want to get the value of string 1, I would simply say print, and I would say
string 1 plus string 2.
Okay, we would do that, but for right now, just print the string 1. Okay, so for example, you're saying string 1 plus string 2. Let's try this. String 1 plus.
I was just getting curious how would it work in Python.
Okay, there you go. So what it actually does is that it just adds the first string to the second string.
It
We call it
concatenation.
concatenation. Yeah, exactly. It concatenates the first string with the second string and it prints the result to you. So, for example, I want to just uh, simply want to print two strings together, and I want to max. I would the right. Mm, it will be more like that. Whenever you are playing with strings and you want to just bring them closer and want to bring them together, so you use a concatenation
So
operation.
concatenation, the plus operator can be used in two ways. Either for concatenating two variables.
Two strings, or you can use that for
Okay.
concatenating, so for addition of the two numbers. For example, I would say number 1 is equal to 5 and number 2 is equal to 10, and I say print uh, number 1 plus number 2, so it will print 15. So we also use plus
For
operator
addition.
for addition as well as for concatenation.
Concatenation.
There's another way to concatenate. For example, if I see we have just saved two variables in our local memory, string 1 and string 2, that are basically of type string. And we have used number 1 and number 2, that is basically of type, I would say, integers. So we have integers as well as we have strings. So these has been saved to our memory. Let's get back to the strings and let's type, what was our string actually? That was string 1 and string 2. There we go. Let's say print string 1. So as long as you are in Python, the string, you are in the shell, what happened actually is that your variables remain in your local memory until unless you don't close that.
So can we copy data from one variable to another?
Exactly, but before that I would just tell you the another option or another way to concatenate the two strings. So what's that? Basically, so I will tell you another way to concatenate the two operators. That is string 1 and plus, and with that I would use double quotes and plus the other string, that is string 2. So this is a concatenation with a third string between that. So I would simply add a space, and whenever I print that, so it was a space memo.
So we can customize it as we want.
Exactly. For example, if I want to add a colon between that, I'll simply add this and just press enter, and it would print that colon with that. Okay.
Great.
So now, what were you asking?
Can we copy one data from another variable?
Yeah, exactly. For example, I say variable where 1 is equal to Usman. There we go. And variable 2 is equal to, I would say, Sheikh. There we go. What I want actually is that I want to add variable, I have a third variable, let's say, variable 3, that is equal to nothing, as empty string. And I want to say that variable 3 is equal to variable 1 plus variable 2. There we go. And when I do this, let's try to print the variable 3. Print variable 3. There you go. And it says Usman Sheikh. So what actually happened is that in variable 3, what actually we did is that we added variable 1 plus variable 2, as we have talked before, that variable 1 plus variable 2 would result in concatenation of the two strings, the variable 2 string and variable 1 string, and it would just assign the value of the both to the variable 3.
So more like we have copied the data from these two
Exactly.
variables to variable 3.
Third variables from these two containers to the third containers. That's great. So For example, I would simply say that this is variable 2, this is variable 1, and we have copied the data. If you see in mathematics, that's it in a very different way. It would say that this is equal to this, which means that this thing has a value this.
I have a question.
But yeah, sure.
Can we use a variable name with the print?
Okay, let's discuss that as well. So, for example, I was just telling that we have two variables and we have a third variable here. So assignment is from the right operator to the
Left.
left. Okay, so the assignment operator works in this way that variable 2 plus variable 1 is added, concatenated, and the value has been sent to the variable 3. There you go. So you were asking that, for example, I want to use create a string variable with name print. Well, you know, Python uses a few names as special built-in words. That is, we call it reserved for special use. So to prevent the ambiguity, we don't use that as variables. For example, and, as, assert,
Class.
yeah,
From, for,
exactly.
global. So there are a number of lists.
Exactly, yeah. So we don't use that. So now, let's try some floating points.
Yes, sure.
FL1 is equal to 2.22222, and FL2 is equal to 3.3333. There we go. And let's say print FL1 plus FL2, and let's print it. There you go. So we have data here. So why not we just try something really different? Why don't we try tuples?
Yes.
So tuples is basically whenever you have some data that you need to add, or you need to remove, or you want a bigger container. For example,
So like we have a number of values like 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. How we can store that?
So, for example, you have a packet of chips, and you have chips in that. You don't have one chip in that. You have a container that have a number of chips.
Number of chips.
Yeah. So what actually happened is that there is a bigger container that is able enough to hold more than one values. We may call it, in simple words in Python, the very simple
A collection.
or a bigger container. So let's try tuples. For example, I need to use a tuple, so TP is equal to, now this is the curly braces tells me that it starts from here and enter, and it has some data inside it. For example, I need to add some numbers. I would say 1, comma 2, comma 3, comma 4, 5.
So we can
6,
separate
7,
different values with
8,
the comma.
9. Yeah. So now it has values from 1 to 9, and if I press enter, the word appears, and it tells that TP has a value from 1 to 9. Let's test this, and I say print, and I say TP, and there you go. So from 1 to 9 it prints all the values. So
great.
That's great. For example, I need to add a new value to TP. I'll simply say TP dot add, and in add I need to add a number. For example, tell me your favorite number.
3. We have already
3. You already have 3.
Okay, 99.
99, that's good. So TP will add 99. Now let's print TP to just see if we have added successfully 99. There you go. So after 9 we have 99. And for example, I want to remove 99. What I'm going to do? Just
I
like
guess
add.
we have a built-in function for that as well.
Exactly. We have a built-in statement for that. Not call it function right now, because we are going to discuss function in later on.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. So
let's keep it a surprise.
Keep it a surprise. So db dot remove. Obviously,
can you just move back and show what we have the other options?
Sure. TP dot.
So we have all the list. You can play around with it. Do try it. Add, clear, copy.
Exactly.
So
especially try the pop one. It'll love it.
Okay.
And you have the documentation for that. Remove or return arbitrary set element. Versus key error. So the error thinks it tries as remove or remove an element from the set. It must be a member. So it must be a member, which means that you can't remove a number or a value or a string
That should be present
that should
in
be present
in the
tuple,
collection.
in the tuple, I would say. Yeah. So now let's print TP after removing 99. So let's print TP, and there you go. Boom.
We have removed successfully a value.
Yeah. So that was a basic introduction to variables, tuples, and strings, floating points, and integers. So try this, and you can also perform some mathematical operations, for example, multiplications,
Division.
exactly, and exponential functions as well. So do try that, and in next class we would discuss about conditional statements.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so this wraps up our current tutorial, and we will be back to you guys with the conditional structure using the if-else, making the scenes in the code. So you would be having the power of making the scenes. So see you in the next tutorial, and remember to practice this what you have learned so far. Thank you.